Well, guys, it looks like investors are going to take over the market here in Salt Lake City, Utah. We've seen new data just come out that talks about how many homes are being purchased as investment properties, or at least assumed investment properties, over the last 24 months. We've got a whole set of data here that we're going to look at. We're going to talk about how many investors are purchasing homes, why they're doing so, how they're paying for it, and why all of this makes sense. I'm going to add some color along the way. I'm going to give you my insight onto this situation and also give you a little bit of insight from having seen and worked with these different investors throughout the past couple of months and years. I've been working with investors for many, many years. In fact, that's actually how I got into the business. Was I was an investor myself. I was a landlord well before I was ever a real estate agent over 10 years ago. So that's how I got into the business. I've worked with investors along the way, so I know how they think and I know how they look at things. And I want to talk a little bit about that and what that means for you if you're looking at buying or selling real estate here in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. So with that being said, we're going to jump on my screen here. Before we do that, if I can help you in any way, please reach out to me, call, text, or email anytime. I want to be your trusted real estate resource of choice when it comes to buying or selling or investing in real estate here in Utah. My team and I service the entire state, and we absolutely love hearing from you guys. So with that being said, let's jump on my screen here and take a look at what we've got here. So this article starts off, it says home prices are high and so are mortgage rates. That might make you wonder who's actually able to buy homes in Utah right now. New numbers show how many buyers in the Beehive State are paying cash and how many are investors. So we're going to pull up this chart right here. This is going to be the number of investor sales nationally in the fourth quarter of 2023. So this is a breakdown between different major markets. You've got Miami here at the top, almost 39%, which is crazy. There's a lot of outside money going into this area. Miami, Houston, New York, Orlando, Tampa, and Vegas all kind of top the list here. Miami is well ahead of everybody else. We've got the national average right here at about 28%, and then you've got Salt Lake City that's down here. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's actually right here at 25% of all sales are assumed to be investor sales. So that's very important to remember. We are below the national average, but we're still quite high at 25%. So if we scroll down a little bit further here, this is what the data says. The latest data from the fourth quarter of 2023 shows that 25% of houses in the Salt Lake market were sold to an investor. It was slightly higher than that in Utah County at 26.8%. So that does sound like a high amount. That means almost, exactly 1 in 4 homes is being sold to an investor. However, that still means that 3 out of 4 homes are homes that are being purchased for the owner to actually live in. So, what is this number that it should be? How many homes should be purchased by an investor? I don't know. I don't know if there's a perfect answer for that. You could say 10%, you could say 0, you could say 50%. I don't know what that right answer is, but to me, I actually think this is a pretty good ratio. Seeing that it's 25% actually doesn't sound that unreasonable, all things considered. Let's open up this chart right here and take a look at this. So this is a Salt Lake City investor activity. Now, the thing that I want to point out here is you've got a couple different charts. It's a little bit confusing, so let me break it down here. Right here on this very top chart, this shows you how many owner-occupied purchases are taking place. So you can see that back here in 2006, 2007, we were at 30,000 owner-occupied purchases. We had a huge dip and then started to slowly climb back up and didn't actually get back to 25 to 30,000 until June of 2021, and then it's fallen off substantially. Same thing with investors. This is the number of investment purchases during this time. We saw a bump up here in in 2021 and 2022, and then it's fallen off going into last year. So this kind of just shows you overall how many purchases are happening. Now, if we take a look at this chart right here, the quarterly percentage of investor purchases to total purchases, you can see that this has jumped up substantially. We were at 20%, for the last couple of years, but over the last 2 quarters, we've actually bumped up to 25%. It's interesting to see that we've actually jumped up in this range because of what interest rates are doing, because of prices, and because of what the market is actually facing. I actually found this quite surprising that this number jumped up. If we take a look over here at this chart, you can see we've got quarterly data. Over the last couple of quarters in 2023, we had 20% right here, we had 18.9%, we had 20.5%, and then in quarter 4 of 2023, we jumped up to 24.5%. I don't know why there was this huge jump. If you go back and look at historical data, it's never been that high. So seeing it this high in the last quarter of last year is actually quite surprising, because this is when interest rates were high. And frankly, I've been looking at real estate deals across the board, and basically nothing makes sense. Unless you're coming to the table with $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 to put down, you are not going to cash flow on that property. So for me, I'm actually kind of baffled why people are still considering purchasing in this market that I can really come to the table with. If you're an investor in this market, you've got a lot of capital down, you're still going to purchase the property because maybe it makes sense for you, right? Maybe you're not looking for a huge return. You're just looking to place some money. Maybe you have a 1031 exchange that you need to place money for to avoid the tax hit. Or maybe you're purchasing for kind of more of a personal reason. I just did a deal recently. It actually just closed yesterday for a client who sold a home. The buyer of that property purchased an investment property for his daughter to live in order to go to school at the University of Utah. So for that particular buyer, it was more of a personal decision to do that. And I think for most people, that's not going to make sense. But for that small subset of people, there are some reasons why somebody would do that on a personal level. The other thing that I can foresee here is that even though prices have come down just slightly and interest rates have climbed, the affordability that we're facing here in the state is at just ridiculous levels, right? It's never been this bad. The thing that I see is that if interest rates come down or if prices come down, the demand that's here in Utah is going to skyrocket. There's still a lot of people moving in. There's still a lot of people that live here that want to purchase homes that are not able to. But if that affordability issue gets resolved one way or another through lower interest rates or more housing or lower prices, the demand is going to be there, and ultimately over the long term that's going to push prices up. So I could see investors going out there and purchasing properties knowing that, hey, maybe I'm not going to make money this month or next month or maybe even next year, but if I hold on to this property for 3, 5, 10, 15 years, I'm almost guaranteed to make money because of the demand that there is out there in the market in Utah. So I think that's actually a big reason why we could see continued investor sales in this market. Let's jump over here and just finish up this article. The numbers have risen over the last few years according to this data, but they are still below the national average and other nearby cities such as Las Vegas and Phoenix. Now I'm going to sum up this article with the last couple of statements they make here. As we do that, guys, just a reminder, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate here in Utah, please reach out to me. My team and I service the entire state, and we'd love to be your go-to resource when it comes to real estate. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, I want to be your trusted real estate resource of choice. My information is here on the screen. Please call, text, or email me anytime. So we're going to talk about this last statement, then we're going to jump over and talk about what Utah voters say the biggest issues are in the state. Hint, hint, it's going to be relating to housing. So let's wrap this up. Many investors also pay cash. According to UtahRealEstate.com, our MLS system, just under 1 in 5 buyers in Utah paid cash for their home in 2023. This is correct. This is going to be across the board. I actually did a video just a couple months ago talking about cash purchases, and in some price ranges and areas, we're seeing 30, 40, even 50% of purchases were being cash. Anything over $1 million, roughly 1 in 2 purchases is actually a cash purchase. So across the board, it's 1 in 5. That's because you have a lot of homes that don't sell for cash, but in certain price ranges and areas, cash purchases are much higher. This was the same percentage that we saw in 2022, but it's up notably from 2020 when cash buyers accounted for just 11.8% of Utah's overall market. This says the market is challenging, so we have less buyers in general. Those cash buyers right now are not impacted by interest rates because they have the cash. They're not financing, so their share is higher a little bit more than usual. There's a little bit of typo there. But there's a lot of cash purchases happening out there. The people who are paying cash are not subject to financing interest rates. So as I mentioned just a minute ago, Utah voters say the state is on the wrong track heading into elections. So I'm not going to go through this whole article here. We're not going to get political about this, but I did find this quite interesting that the category of most important issues of concern is number 1, housing affordability, like we just talked about. The average ranking was number 1 for this. So this is out of 17 different items, you've got the most important being housing affordability. Everybody is feeling this. If you already own a home in the area, you're probably not feeling it as much. But if you're looking to purchase a home in today's day and age, even if you've got money coming into it from having sold a home or you've got some money saved up or whatever, it can still feel like a big mountain to climb. And there's really no hiding that, right? Interest rates are all-time highs. Prices really haven't adjusted all that much, and housing affordability is a huge issue. If we take a look at what's happened with interest rates over just the last little bit, I want to show you this to kind of visualize, to help you visualize what's happening with interest rates. So going back to 2023, this is quarter 4, right? October through December, we actually saw a huge spike in interest rates up to 8% and then quickly fell down to about 6.5% going into the end of the year. So perhaps this is also why investors were jumping into the market as they saw rates falling and they thought, hey, now's my chance, now's my opportunity to get in and purchase a home. I don't know, but maybe that's a theory. After that happened in the middle of December, we've actually seen rates climb almost back up to where they were. We're currently sitting at about 7.5%. We're actually not too far off the quote unquote all-time recent highs that we've seen for interest rates. So across the board, guys, housing affordability is an issue. It is very difficult out there. However, there are still lots of sales happening. There's thousands of sales happening every single month. And there's, dozens, probably hundreds more that are happening off the market that never get talked about, whether that's an off market fix and flip deal, a wholesale deal, new construction, something like that. There's tons of other deals that are happening that people don't really ever talk about. More cash purchases, in fact, as well as some creative terms. So as we wrap this up, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to reach out to me if I can help you in any way. As always, my information is here on the screen. Call, text, or email anytime. I love hearing from you guys and would love to help you with your individual situation. And with that said, we'll catch you guys in the next one.